Breaking news into the Fanfare newsfeed.
Cohen decided that while he didn't believe the allegation of the Stormy Daniels story, that he thought the story would be embarrassing for Trump and especially for Melania, so he decided he would take care of it himself.
Absolutely, and that is contrary to what this guy testified to in court in New York yesterday.
Well, and what's not being talked about is your next paragraph, like the reason and his motivation for that. So if you could just kind of walk through that for the committee.
I specifically asked him because he kept on going back saying, I can't believe they're trying to put me in jail for these NDAs. So I said, Michael, tell me about the NDA. Tell me about Stormy Daniels. What did you do? He said, I got a call from a lawyer representing Stormy Daniels who represented that she was going to testify that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen said, I didn't believe the allegation, but I knew that such an allegation would be terribly embarrassing. He said it would be embarrassing. He focused on Melania Trump. He said, I didn't want to embarrass Melania Trump. He said, that's why I decided to take care of this on my own. Right. I went back to that several times. You did this on your own? On my own. Did Donald Trump have anything to do with it? No. Did you get the money from Donald Trump? No. From any of his organizations? No. From anybody connected to Donald Trump? No. Where did you get the money? I took out a HELOC loan against my property. I said, why would you do that? He said, I didn't want anybody to know where I got this money. I didn't want Melania to know. I didn't want my own wife to know because she's in charge, he said, of the Cohen family finances. He said, if she saw money coming out of my account, she'd ask me 100 questions, and I didn't want to answer any of them. It was clear after talking to him for several days after that, whenever we talked on the phone or in my office, that he kept on bringing up the subject that he felt he was betrayed by not being brought down to Washington, D.C. This guy thought, he said to me, that he should have been Attorney General of the United States or at least the chief assistant to the president. Ludicrous, but that's what he thought. And he was very angry about that. He wanted to do something to put himself back into the inner circle of Donald Trump. That's why he took care of this on his own. There had to be a motivation. Michael Cohen is always working for things that benefit himself. And that's what he was doing here. That's completely different to what he said that he told the grand jury. That's completely different to what he's testifying to in New York.
They are still shredding Michael Cohen's testimony in court. But this trial, for all intents and purposes, it's over. It's a sham. It's so bad for Michael Cohen that it may cost him his freedom. He has been caught in lie after lie after lie during cross-examination. And if this wasn't New York, I would also say that Alvin Bragg would be looking at some prison time as well. While they've been tying up Cohen in knots, his attorney, his former attorney, has been testifying in front of Congress. And man, did he drop bomb after bomb. When you hear what he had to say, you will agree that this case is indeed over. Actually, when you hear what he has to say, it may make you angry. This entire circus trying to get Trump is nothing but a sham. In addition to testifying in front of Congress yesterday, he went on live television this morning to talk about his testimony. And you need to understand that in that testimony he made in front of Congress, he was under oath. There is a ton of info to unpack here, so we're going to jump right in.
Former legal advisor to Michael Cohen. His name is Robert Costello. He represented Cohen at the start of the federal investigation and has been released from his attorney-client confidentiality agreement, hence the reason why you're able to talk to us. And sir, thank you for your time today. And we watch.
Now understand what he just said. He said that this guy can talk freely because he's finally been released from his client-attorney confidentiality clause. That is really bad for Michael Cohen because this guy knows what everything that Cohen's been talking about. He knows where the bodies are buried.
You before Congress yesterday, and that was something else. This is part of what you had said to Congress yesterday. Cohen told you, I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump.
Case closed. I know I'm going to go through everything he says here, but that statement alone from his attorney should shut down this case in New York. That's it. It's over.
Now, you testified before Alvin Bragg's grand jury. Did you tell them what you told Congress yesterday?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because before I testified on a Monday, before the grand jury, I gave Alvin Bragg's assistant DAs the courtesy of about an hour and a half Zoom conference where I told them all of the exculpatory material that I had that they were supposed to put before the grand jury. But when I appeared before the grand jury, they were asking me questions that, in my opinion, and I've been a federal prosecutor myself, I was deputy chief of the criminal division in the Southern District of New York, those questions they were asking me were not going to elicit the exculpatory information that I had.
So what he's saying there is that he spoke with Alvin Bragg and the prosecutors in the Trump case prior to the grand jury indicting Trump, and he told them exculpatory evidence, meaning stuff that would basically get Trump exonerated, and they refused to give it to the grand jury. Alvin Bragg, start shining up some of those, silver handcuffs, because you might need to get some as well.
So I began to expand upon my answers, and the DA's office was trying to shut me down, saying that I had finished my answer. And I told them that when I'm in the middle of answering a question, I'll decide when I finish my answer. And I asked them not to interrupt me again. But basically, they only put in a small cherry-picked group of emails. I presented maybe 200 to 300 emails and text messages to them. I had them with me, luckily, in chronological order. They put 2 or 3 into evidence. I asked them, are you going to put the rest of them into evidence? And they said no.
Did you hear what he just said? I'm sure he did. Alvin Bragg and his cohorts basically framed Donald Trump. Cohen's own attorney. Hey, I got 300 pages of notes. Let's put these into evidence. No, we're good. You don't get this to do that. You're the grand jury. You're the prosecuting attorney. You have to provide that to the grand jury. They chose not to.
And I said, remember, there's a court reporter there. I said, why not?
That's important. So now what he just said allows anybody to go back and check the veracity of what he's saying, because it should have been recorded by the court reporter.
They said there's a legal issue with him. I said, what's the legal issue? And he said, hearsay. Now, first of all, hearsay is admissible in the grand jury, so that's really not an objection. But I played along with him, and I said, hearsay? Well, then pay close attention to the next 2 sentences. I said, these documents were made in the regular course of business, and it was the regular course of business to make and maintain documents such as these at or about the dates indicated. I said, now you know, and I know, but the grand jurors don't know. That makes these documents business records.
So they basically tried to lie to an attorney, a guy who's been a prosecutor himself, saying, no, we can't admit that. That's hearsay. 2 reasons that's not true. 1, hearsay is admissible to a grand jury. And second of all, this is work product. This is notes I took during the course of doing business, which 100% is admissible.
And you know, and I know, but the grand jurors don't know that business records are an exception to the hearsay rule. So are you going to put the rest of the documents into evidence? And they indicated most likely no. So I simply said to the grand jurors, I said, you people should demand these documents.
Now, I could be dropping my bomb gif all throughout this interview that he gives. It's simply amazing. Understand, just in your mind, play the bomb gif every time he drops one of these things that shows that they've completely choreographed this entire case against Trump.
You should demand to see everything in chronological order so you get a real view of what Michael Cohen was like in those days at that moment in time. I said, and then ask yourself this question. Why are they trying to keep these documents from me? Well, after that, I left the grand jury. I have no idea whether they put the documents into evidence or what happened, but subsequently Donald Trump was indicted.
And this guy has not been called by the prosecution as a witness. I gotta believe they may not need him on a defense because Michael Cohen is imploding, but they gotta bring this guy in if they intend on bringing any witnesses in.
Seen the fruits of that indictment in this trial, which is a trial about something that's not a crime. When I met with Michael Cohen on the first day at the Regency Hotel when he was suicidal by his own admission, I explained to him non-disclosure agreements, NDAs as he was calling them, I said are perfectly legal because he kept on saying, why are they trying to put me in jail for an NDA? And I explained to him, that's not why they're trying to put you in jail. Obviously, they think you've done other things. What are they? He denied having done anything else. I didn't do anything illegal. I'm cooperating with the special counsel. I'm cooperating with Congress. Of course, he forgot to tell us that he lied to Congress.
which they have now gone ahead and referred him to the Department of Justice for further prosecution.
But he was desperately seeking, according to his own words, an escape route. I want you guys to tell me how I can get out of this, because he saw these enormous legal problems coming his way. They were so bad in his mind that he was willing to kill himself.
Think about that. That alone is exculpatory. Here's why. When someone's about to commit suicide or do something like that, that is considered almost like a deathbed confession. Those are some of the best, strongest confessions that you can have because it's somebody coming clean. Any attorney will tell you that.
And so I kept on going back and suggesting to him, listen, Michael, if you have something truthful on Donald Trump, now is the time to cooperate. And he kept on saying over and over again, 10 to 20 times, I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump.
10 to 20 times he said, I don't have anything on Donald Trump. He told his personal attorney that 10 to 20 times. I hope this guy gets on a stand. I hope they bring him and have him confront Michael Cohen in court. It'll be amazing. You'll see the prosecutors doing backflips trying to not let this guy's testimony get in because it also implicates them.
I even said to him, Michael, think about this. Isn't it easier to cooperate against Donald Trump if you have truthful information than it is to kill yourself? Well, the answer is obvious. That was his moment in time. If he had something truthful to say, I'm willing to cooperate. But he didn't take that. He kept on saying, I have nothing on Donald Trump. And then when we got into the discussion of the Stormy Daniels NDA, he said specifically, and I cross-examined him on this was my idea.
Should I drop the bomb gif again? Do I need to start interspersing my bomb gif so you guys can understand? Boom, boom. They just keep coming one after the other as this guy talks.
It was his idea to take care of the NDA because he had been contacted by a lawyer for Stormy Daniels who said she was going to claim that Donald Trump had sex with her. Cohen said, I didn't believe the allegation, but nevertheless, it would be embarrassing to Melania.
And now understand, in court, that's not what he said. He said that Trump was the one who didn't want this to impact his presidential campaign, yet he told his attorney he was worried about Melania. Another lie.
That's Michael Cohen's words. He said, and so I decided to take care of this myself. Now, he took out a home equity loan for $130,000 and used that. And he did tell us that he got repaid later. We didn't get into the details of that because that was not what we were focused on at the moment. We were trying to figure out what was Michael Cohen going to be charged with by the Southern District of New York. And then, as you know, ultimately, he pled guilty to 8 counts, 7 of which had nothing to do with Donald Trump. And then after that, he attempted to cooperate by telling fibs to the U.S. Attorney's Office that Rudy Giuliani and I conspired basically to obstruct justice and tamper with the witness being Michael Cohen.
Today, on the witness stand, they got him to tell one of his huge lies. He lied to the judge that was sentencing him for perjury. The sentencing hearing. He lied to the judge while he was being sentenced. This guy doesn't know what truth even looks like anymore.
With all these emails and text messages that I had, it was absolutely clear that there was no truth whatsoever to that. So the U.S. attorney said to Michael Cohen, in order for us to investigate this, you have to waive the attorney-client privilege. And that's what he did. And when they called me up and presented me with the waiver, I then gave them the documents they requested. I went down and I was interviewed for a couple of hours with 2 AUSAs and 2 FBI agents. At the end of that interview, everybody was laughing because I showed how ludicrous the accusation was.
So that tells you right there, the DOJ had this guy come into their office, give them all the documents, and they dropped their case because they're like, this is ludicrous. We can't do anything with this. So how did Alvin Bragg decide to bring a case up in New York? Well, they learned from this guy in terms of what happened with the DOJ. Oh, by the way, the DOJ is actually running Alvin Bragg's case, and what they understood not to let happen is don't let the grand jury hear this guy, because we've already heard what he's going to say at the Department of Justice. It blew up our case. In order for us to do this locally, we just won't bring this guy in. See how bad this looks? Not that it just looks this bad, it is this bad.
And they being the Southern District of New York, never used Michael Cohen again. They didn't indict Donald Trump for anything, and they never used Michael Cohen, and they didn't give him any credit for his cooperation. That's a lesson that the Manhattan DA's office should have learned.
Oh, they learned all right. The part that they learned was make sure you don't get anywhere near this Costello guy because he'll blow up our case.
They haven't learned it yet.
One of the things I found so interesting about what you just said, amongst many, is that the grand jury didn't get to hear some of the things that you thought they should hear. And for all of us listening to you now, it's like, wow, the jury should probably hear this. And I wonder, have you been subpoenaed by the defense? Do you think you will be called to testify in New York at this trial?
I have not been subpoenaed. Whether I will be called to testify, it hasn't been decided yet. It probably depends a lot on what's going to happen today in court.
And today they are, as you're watching this, not sure when, but it's after lunch. They have broke for lunch. They're destroying Michael Cohen, absolutely ripping him to shreds on the stand. So they may not even need this guy, but if they really want to sink this case, they got to bring him in.
And then what would happen on redirect by the district attorney's office? I mean, if I were in Todd Blanche's shoes, that's the analysis I would make. But,
if you were in Todd Blanche's shoes, would you call you to testify?
He laughs.
Yes, because I'm a reliable person.
If you were Trump's attorney, would you call me to actually testify? A guy laughs. Yeah, I'm reliable. Bring me in.
Go back to this meeting with Cohen, 2016. It's late October, early November. The election hasn't even happened yet. No. It's April. It's April. April of what year?
2018.
Okay.
Guy knows his dates. Now, I don't know if Bill was trying to trip him up on purpose, but this guy is solid. He knew his dates.
Gotcha. So can you explain how Cohen could procure the NDA on his own, right? He said his wife ran the house. He went out and got a home equity loan, okay? They're living in some pretty fat apartments on Park Avenue, right? So they've got the money on the home equity loan if they want it. How does he sign it?
Sure.
Without his wife knowing, which he has testified to. And why does he do it then? And is it solely for the purpose that he thought Donald Trump would give him a good job in the administration if he were to win?
All right, before this guy answers, and this was before court began, I can tell you the answer to that question. It came out in court today that basically Michael Cohen, if he didn't sign her name, he had somebody else. But in any event, he forged the application. He lied. He committed bank fraud in order to get this home equity line of credit. It just keeps getting deeper with this guy.
Well, that's multiple questions there. Number one, he got a HELOC loan, as he referred to it, for the $130,000. The reason he did it that way was he told us, and I haven't seen the paperwork, but he told us that he didn't want Melania to know, and he didn't want his own wife to know, because he said that his wife handles the family finances, and if he took any money out of any of his accounts, she'd know it right away.
Now, to me, that's what the jury needs to focus on. What I mean by that is, if he's willing to lie to his wife, this guy went and took $130,000 and put up his home as collateral where his wife and kids live, and he didn't want his wife to know. He wanted to lie to her. Then he'll lie to anybody. If you're married, you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
According to him, she'd ask him 100 questions that he didn't want to answer.
Yeah,
that's his statement. Now, I haven't seen the paperwork for this HELOC loan, so I don't know whether he represented to the bank.
I can tell you, it came out in court today. He lied. I don't know who signed the document, but it was bank fraud.
Chances are that he didn't tell the truth on that application. He didn't say this is going to be money to take care of a non-disclosure agreement. But I don't know that. I'm just guessing.
Okay.
Now, what was your other question?
I had a few. Can I ask you another one?
Yes, you did.
Why has Alan Weisselberg not been a witness in this?
Alan Weisselberg is the CFO of the Trump Organization who supposedly okayed the checks to Stormy. However, the prosecution won't call him, even though he's in jail. He's in Rikers or somewhere up there. He's in jail, and they won't call him to prove that he okayed the checks.
Case to date. He's the longtime accountant, ran the Trump Organization for more than 40 years.
Well, I think if you listen to Andy McCarthy, who you just had on, he gave a very good analysis, and that is we are presuming that Alan Weisselberg does not have any information that would be helpful to the district attorney. Because if they thought he had helpful information, they would immunize him and bring him from Rikers Island over to the courthouse and have him testify. The fact that they haven't done that leads one to reasonably conclude that maybe Weisselberg doesn't have information that helps him, rather it helps Donald Trump.
Which is another witness that Trump could call if he wanted to. So in his, when they get to the point of putting on a defense, because understand, this is just, Cohen is a prosecutorial witness. They haven't put on their defense yet. Some people are saying they may just rest. They may ask for a directed verdict, just dismiss this thing. It's a sham. Or they may decide to call witnesses. Nobody really knows what the strategy is yet.
I think Andy McCarthy is 100% correct on that.
I'll hit you with a couple questions if you don't mind. Here's just one. Like, if Cohen did all of this on his own, but the jury sees that Donald Trump signed the checks, does that kind of evidence go to the prosecution's point?
No.
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, this...
Dumb question, Dana. Dumb question.
This is a prosecution for a false statement in a business record. Frankly, none of this tawdry stuff should have been allowed in. It's reversible error. If this case results in a conviction, it will definitely get reversed.
The only problem with that is it won't get reversed until way after the election. And you can count on it that Dementia Joe will try and use it to his advantage. I don't think it will work. I think people have had it. There's so much information out here now, like the videos I'm doing, where people are saying this is a circus. This is just a movie you're watching. In fact, they hired Steven Spielberg to start, coordinating Joe's videos. That's how bad things are for the Biden administration.
But after the election, probably. And that's what they want.
Okay.
The fact that Donald Trump signs the checks really doesn't mean anything. Do you know how many checks he probably sits there and signs? While he's president of the United States, he might be a little busy on something else.
Do you know Judge Merchan?
No, not at all.
All right.
Never met him.
But you have experience with New York juries, and what do you think about this particular jury and how they might be thinking about this case as they get ready for jury instructions fairly soon?
Well, I mean, it's New York City, so I understand that 87% of the voters voted not for Donald Trump in the last election. So you have to assume that there is Trump derangement syndrome out there and that this jury will be reflective of that. So that means there are some people on this jury who will vote to convict Donald Trump, no matter what evidence is presented or not presented.
And the prosecutors know that. They know that it doesn't matter what they do. They've got a certain amount of guilty votes already baked in. Doesn't even matter.
All you need is one or two reasonable people to hold up or hang the jury.
Now that's what's really important. Out of 12 people on this jury, you got to believe just the law of averages that there has to be one or two people with reasonable integrity, self-integrity, to do the right thing. Are you telling me New York's that far gone where these people don't have any integrity? They're all going to look the other way on all of Cohen's lies, all of Stormy lies, and just go ahead and convict Trump because they hate him? Is that what we're really going to see happen here?
And I think ultimately, if I was guessing or betting on this, I'd bet that that's probably going to be the result. They may actually just get so disgusted and acquit him. But
so
it's hard to do that when 87% of the people vote for the other guy.
To me, what we're seeing is that this attorney is telling people everything that he can back up. He's got paperwork. He's got emails. He has all these notes that he took about Michael Cohen. He was his attorney. This guy single-handedly could probably just destroy this entire case. That's why the prosecution doesn't want to bring him in. So this guy knows where the bodies are buried. He knows that Cohen is lying. He has told Congress that Cohen is lying. He can't wait to get into court. I think Trump needs to call this guy as a witness. He's got documents. He's got emails. This would be basically something that would obliterate this entire case against Donald Trump. So now he's going to get into the fact of Michael continually said, I got nothing on Trump. I got nothing on him. Listen to this.
So his story is entirely different now. He's done a 180. So maybe this, maybe the jurors believe him today, and they would not believe something from 6 years ago, Robert.
Well, everything that Stormy said was from, 2006. So if they won't believe something that this guy says, why would they believe anything that Stormy said?
The rest of the proof doesn't support Michael Cohen. And by the way, one thing that you're not reporting yet is that besides making that statement, I swear to God, I don't have anything on Donald Trump, he also said more times than that answer, guys, I want you to understand, I will do whatever the F I have to do. I will never spend a day in jail. And then he
boom. I will never spend a day in jail. I will do whatever the F I have to do to make sure that doesn't happen. Well, this guy got like a 70-year sentence reduced down to 2 so that he would cooperate with Alvin Bragg and his cohorts to put Trump in jail. So he has to deliver, which that's a huge incentive. If he has to go back to jail, which he will because he perjured himself again today.
He'd slam his hand on the conference room table. And what does that mean to you? That means this guy is saying, I will lie, cheat, steal, do whatever I have to do. I'm not going to jail. Well, he did go to jail. And who do you think he blames for that? And why do you think he names his most recent book, Revenge? I mean, quite frankly, he's using this to monetize himself, because this is the only way this guy can make money right now. Selling books and T-shirts and trinkets and being the ultimate anti-Trumper. And because he was doing that on TV, and I saw that, I said, I can't sit by and let this guy tell the grand jury, tell the jurors now this false story when he told us the opposite story at a moment when he was desperately seeking a way out and was willing to kill himself.
And Alvin Bragg, understand, Alvin Bragg and Colangelo, they know this. They know that this guy Costello has all this information. He tried to tell the grand jury. They wouldn't let him tell the grand jury. They wouldn't bring any of that information or documentation into the grand jury. So this entire farce now is indeed bordering on criminality regarding Alvin Bragg.
And certainly cooperating with truthful information is a lot easier. But he didn't have any truthful information.
That leads me to a question I was thinking about asking you, because you've had time with Michael Cohen. I've not. And I'm wondering about how you think his state of mind is now, because, as you said, he was suicidal when he first met you. He did ultimately go to jail. He's now written a book called Revenge. He has said to the prosecution he does want Donald Trump, to be convicted. And he's getting some, strange new respect from liberal media and commentators, even.
He's a new Avenatti. Remember how they loved Avenatti when he was talking trash about Trump? This guy is the new Avenatti. Rosie O'Donnell and all the rest are just so infatuated with Michael Cohen because they think this is it. We're going to get Trump.
Actresses and comedians on the left-wing perspective, and I wonder how he thinks about that. Is he somebody who responds to that kind of flattery, but also is it because that's the way that he can actually continue to make money to support his family?
Everything about this guy at this point is about making money. He is basically a useful idiot. He is someone that the media can now use, and he can get on and do his little dance on TikTok and try to get people to donate money to him, which I've already told you my feelings on that. I do feel like that's a significant money laundering organization, or operation rather. Who else is going to be doling out thousands of dollars to Michael Cohen on TikTok? Think about that. TikTok's demographics aren't the type of people that would be donating money to Michael Cohen. Where's this money coming from? Somebody should dig into that.
The answer is both. He does respond to the flattery. He is looking to make money, and he has been making money. He's got a podcast. Apparently it's called Mea Culpa, which is ironic because it's Latin that means through my fault. And it is through his fault that we're all here talking about this subject.
Final question.
Okay.
If you think Michael Cohen was telling the truth in 2018, maybe he was lying 6 years ago. Maybe he's flipped again.
Of course, that's a possibility.
I was in the courtroom.
However,
I was in the courtroom the other day, and it was a well-rehearsed show.
See, you're answering your own question. If this guy will do anything not to go to jail, and they've had 6 months to a year to prep him, Obviously, on the prosecutorial side, it was a simple Q&A. What color is the sky? Blue. What color is grass? Green. It's very simple. It's when the cross-examination happens that Bill's not understanding, because you don't know where the arrows are coming from. Bill's going to talk about the cadence on the prosecution's questions to Michael Cohen because they were rehearsed.
Between the prosecutor and Michael Cohen, it was Q&A, Q&A, Q&A. It was flip the page. He could almost anticipate the question, so he was very well rehearsed. But if you're saying he's lying now, who's to say he wasn't lying then when you first came across him?
I'll tell you why I believe that what he told us in 2018 was the truth. Number one, as I said, he was suicidal. He was desperately looking for a way out. The way out was clear, and that was to cooperate against Donald Trump if he had truthful information. He didn't take that way out. All day long, he said, I don't have anything, but I will do whatever the F I have to do. I will never spend a day in jail.
Please, Trump team, I know you don't watch my videos. Maybe somebody will that can get this to Trump. Bring this guy on. This guy will destroy the entire case. It's over.
Here's the other thing. Donald Trump, when he went to Washington, D.C., when he was elected, he took the whole Trump inner circle to Washington, with one exception, Michael Cohen. They left him back in New York. Michael Cohen was very unhappy about that. As I testified yesterday, during one of my conversations with Michael Cohen, when I asked him, Michael, what did you think was going to happen if you did go to Washington, D.C.? He said, I thought I could be Attorney General of the United States.
Wow. You think Trump may have had a little insight and go, no, this guy, I got to leave him in New York. He's not White House material.
Or at least Chief of Staff to the President. Now, as ludicrous as that sounds, I thought I was the only one that he had said that to, until I noticed that during cross-examination of, I think it was Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Cohen actually said that to him. Now, this is your adversary. You're negotiating with this guy for an NDA, and yet you're telling him how annoyed you are that Donald Trump didn't take you to Washington where you could be Attorney General or Chief of Staff. You don't think that's sitting on this guy's mind when he writes a book called Revenge? He went to jail and he's left alone in New York. I think that's his motivation now.
Revenge. That's it. That's the reason why Michael Cohen is acting the way that he's acting. That and money. And I understand that Robert Costello just dropped a whole lot of info right there. Some may not want to believe it. I understand that. But it's the exact same thing he testified to under oath in front of Congress yesterday. I have to believe, listening to this guy, that he's much more credible than Michael Cohen. And as you heard, if he is subpoenaed and he goes in to testify on behalf of the defense, he's got notes and documentation. In any event, we will soon see the defense presentation and whether or not they decide to subpoena Robert Costello. Cohen is getting shredded so bad, they may not even have to. Let's see what happens, and let me know what you think about what Robert Costello said, and did he indeed blow up the entire case for Alvin Bragg and his cohorts up in New York. Talk to you soon.